Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. It's me, Niall, just here giving a quick preview for this weekend's clash from Buenos Aires, Argentina, as the legendary multiweight world champion Nonito Donaire returns to the ring for the first time in 2 years, as he faces former world title challenger Andreas Campos in a WBA final eliminator for the bantamweight title. This one for the interim title. So the winner will leave himself on the verge of a world title shot in a mandatory position for that. But yeah, before we get into today's video, please make sure, if you're not doing so already, we'd really appreciate it if you could drop a like on the video first of all. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at ESBR Boxing and follow us on all social media platforms. Yeah, if you're not doing so already. So yeah, let's jump into the preview. Nonito Donaire, the legendary Filipino Flash, four-division world champion, returns to the ring at 42 years old. For the first time in 2 years, he hasn't fought since 2023. A loss to Alexandro Santiago. And he's fighting now in a big fight, a fight that'll put him in a big position, a position of a mandatory challenger for the WBA bantamweight world title if he wins it. And he faces Andres Campos. Yeah, Nonito Donaire needs no introduction. He's phenomenal. He's a legend. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's one of my favorite fighters of all time. I've always said it. Just that left hook is stunning. That just flashing, bone crunching left hook is probably my favorite shot ever from any fighter in boxing. My favorite trademark shot. Yeah, legend of the game. Done it in many weights, many great wins against the likes of, Victor Chini and Montiel, Omar Narvaez, gave Inoue all he could handle, of course, in that first fight. Had a renaissance later, resurgence late on in his career from the time he entered the World Boxing Super Series and dropped back down to bantamweight. But yeah, he's a legend. He is a legend. He's going into the Hall of Fame, first ballot, as I said. But this worries me. This return worries me, I have to say. For Nonito Donaire, he's the last time we saw him fight, as I say, against Alexandro Santiago in 2023, he looked awful. He looked every bit the 40-year-old he was at the time. He looked slow, he looked plodding, he took so much damage. He just couldn't get out of the way of shots that he slipped years ago in his prime, or even a couple of years before. When he had good wins against the likes of Nordine Ubali. Um, yeah, he looked like Father Time had well and truly caught up with him, and it was a shame. And it would have been a good place to step away there, but he's back now 2 years later. Inactive 42-year-old now, and he's bound to look worse. I hope I'm proved wrong, but he's bound to look worse than he did against Santiago, which is worrying. Especially if he was to get a win. Whether Andres Campos is the man to kind of further show these frailties or further inflict damage on Donaire, more damage than we seen 2 years ago against Santiago. I'm not sure, but if he was to win, WBA interim champion, mandatory challenger for Antonio Vargas, maybe it's better off for Nonito Donaire fans and him himself for his physical health that he loses this fight. So he officially kind of confirms that he doesn't have it anymore while taking, minimal damage. That brings us on to his opponent, Andres Campos. Of course, Chilean fighter, will be most known to UK fans for challenging Sonny Edwards for the IBF flyweight title back in 2023. Lost a wide decision, but there's no shame in that. Edwards a quality fighter when he held the IBF title, unbeaten at the time, and very slick boxer. But yeah, Campos is a decent fighter, technically solid, very light on his feet, agile, fast hands, not the biggest puncher. And of course he's coming up from super flyweight in his last couple of fights, but he's a former flyweight. I know Nonito Donaire is as well, but that was a long time ago. Fully fledged super bantamweight and a big puncher. So I think Andres Campos could, cause Donaire problems early with his speed, his fast hands on his fast feet, technically solid fighter. As bad as I thought Donaire was, Donaire was slow in 2023. He did take a lot of damage. He will take damage in this fight, but I think he might have kind of the physical strength and the power to overcome Campos in this one. I think he'll have enough in this one to kind of overcome the smaller man one more time. And they say the power is the last thing to go. So that big left hook, I think, will pay dividends for him again and knock Campos out. But Campos as well is coming off a stoppage loss recently at super flyweight. So I just think he might have a little bit too much to overcome coming up the weights to when he's not a big puncher either. Donaire very durable fighter even now. So yeah, I think Donaire will kind of have sticky moments in terms of dealing with the speed of Campos, but I don't think Campos can outlast avoid the power for too long, especially in that left hook. So I think an underwhelming Donaire will win by knockout here. But it worries me, as I say, in terms of where that leaves him. Especially in the current bantamweight landscape. It's there's killers, there's killers there. Antonio Vargas, very good fighter, big puncher. You've got Yoshiki Takai, excellent fighter, and the phenomenal Junto Nakatani. Junto Nakatani, if he was to fight Nonito Donaire, would be a sad day for what Junto would do unless he showed Donaire too much respect and kind of just carried him through. But yeah, he could get badly hurt. So hopefully, as I say, maybe it'll be a good thing for him if he does lose this fight, but I don't think he will. I think he'll get it done by KO. I just hope they keep him away from world champions. I hope they keep him away from Vargas, Takai, Junto. Even the kind of the fringe world level guys. You've got Sei Satsumi, former world champion, Takuma Inoue, former champion, Tenshin Nasukawa. They'd all beat Donaire comfortably at this stage. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how he looks this time. Hopefully he does prove me wrong from this video, but how bad he looked against Santiago 2 years ago really worries me. So yeah, pile on the inactivity of Donaire in that time frame. 42 years old now. It's a sad one for me, but I hope he can roll back the clock one more time and get it done. Prove people wrong like he did in the first Inoue fight, like he did against Nordine Bali, and give us all one more good night in Buenos Aires this Saturday night. But yeah, that's just my quick preview for this weekend's WBA interim bantamweight title fight between Nonito Donaire, the legendary Filipino Flash, as he makes his return against former world title challenger Andres Campos in South America. So yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. Are you excited to see the Filipino Flash Nonito Donaire return to the ring? And what's your important prediction for this one? Is Father Time gonna, reign supreme once again like it did 2 years ago? Is Campos gonna get the win, the younger, fresher man, or will he roll back the clock? Let us know. And as I said at the start of the video, please, we'd really appreciate it if you could drop a like on the video first of all, subscribe to our YouTube channel at ESBR Boxing if you're not doing so already, and follow us on all social media. And yeah, until next time, take care.